Story on SA Today. Eskom has implemented stage 2 load shedding from 4 p.m. this afternoon and scheduled to finish at 11 p.m. tonight due to a shortage of capacity. For a little bit more on that, we're now joined on the line by Eskom's Chief Operations Officer, Jan Oberholzer. Mr. Oberholzer, thanks very much indeed for joining us. What does a lack of capacity mean? How did we get to this situation?
Afternoon, Peter. Peter, since Monday, we have lost 10 of our power station units. So what it means, we had some trips, of which 5 of those have been due to boiler tube leaks. Now, to fix a boiler tube leaks, unfortunately, takes time. So this morning, we lost an additional 3 units. So we had to use quite a lot of our emergency reserves. So the situation that we have is currently we're in excess of 13,000 megawatts. That is on unplanned outages, so trips. That's basically what it means. And we've said always that we need to be below 9,500 megawatts to avoid load shedding. So unfortunately, where we find ourselves is in 13,000, just about 13,000 megawatts on outage, unplanned outage. We had to use, especially today, from earlier this morning till around about 2:30, around about 3 o'clock, a lot of our water reserves. So we've depleted quite a lot of our emergency water reserves, and we had to then make a decision that we unfortunately had to implement load shedding to ensure that we don't deplete the water reserves, the emergency reserves completely.
What's causing the loss of these units?
It's unreliability, Peter, and unpredictability, because we haven't done proper and adequate maintenance over the last decade. This is where we find ourselves. So we also don't have the luxury, unfortunately, now that you can take out a unit that needs to be maintained properly, that you can take it out, put it, so to speak, in the garage, have mechanics to look after it, replace and do what you need to do and bring it back, because we need those units to run because of the shortage of capacity. Then also what we find this week, as well as last week, that there's a change in the demand pattern. So where we find ourselves is in excess of 1,500 megawatts. That is more. So it's caught us off guard as well. But it doesn't take away the fact that we've lost units due to unpredictability and unreliability. That's where we find ourselves.
What could be this change in demand? Is this consumers using more air conditioners? What do you think it might be?
Typically in summer it is air conditions. However, if you take the day and a half, it's been relatively cold. So, but we also believe that some of the manufacturers are using the opportunity to utilize and to use electricity more. But it seems that the last day and a half may have been because of the cold spell that we have, especially today.
So if you take a look at all the units across the country, what percentage would you say are vulnerable to this kind of thing happening to them as a result of what you mentioned, not being maintained properly over time? Is it the bulk of them? Do you have any idea?
No, Peter, fortunately it's not the bulk of it. So at some of the power stations we have significant challenges. However, the majority of our power stations, the plant is reliable and they're performing very well. So I would like to say it's 30%, 50%, whatever the case, but there's unfortunately it is a significant portion, which is less than 50%, that we have significant challenges with.
All right, so what happens after 11 p.m.? Might there be load shedding tomorrow?
Peter, the risk for load shedding tomorrow is very high. We are expecting 3 of our units, however 2 of them are smaller units, back throughout the night for morning peak. However, we will have a look at what is happening at evening peak, so up until about 8:30 tonight. So we will assess the situation and then we will make a decision around about 10, 11 o'clock. We will then communicate if it's required to maintain the load shedding up until 5 tomorrow, specifically to replenish our dam levels. So should we then continue with load shedding, it will be to replenish dam levels. However, what we will do tomorrow at 5 o'clock, we're getting together, we will assess the situation and we will communicate before 7 tomorrow what the most likely is for tomorrow.
All right, so the risk is high, but more information tomorrow. Mr. Oberholzer, we'll leave it there for the time being. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. So if you haven't heard, load shedding is on. Started at 1600 this afternoon. Some of you probably not even watching this because your televisions are off, but the rest of you, it carries on until 11 o'clock this evening.